A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I want A+ English. That's so much fun. English education for you and everyone, so come along. Learn some grammar, learn a phrase, learn something new every day. Learn the A+ way. Hey, it's time to start the show. Are you ready? Good, 'cause here we go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I want A+ English.
Hi everybody and welcome to A+ English. I'm Pat.
And I'm Elsie.
And today we're starting our literature article, our story article for this month. It's called Dear Mr. Henshaw. Now, Mr. Henshaw in this story is an author, a writer. And so our warm-up question is, who is your favorite writer and why?
谁是你最喜欢的作家呢？还有原因为何？ My favorite writer is Stephen King.
Stephen King, okay.
Because I think he's able to explore human nature, thoughts, and emotions.
Mostly horror, mostly scared emotions.
I think he can do that better and more than other authors.
Yeah, he is certainly very talented. I've got a lot of favorite writers. I love Raymond Chandler's detective stories, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes stories.
Yes.
I read a lot of fantasy. My top ones in there, Stephen Erikson, Stephen Donaldson, Dumas, who wrote The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo for those classic stories. But above them all, and this isn't going to be a big surprise, I guess Tolkien sits there, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, just for the pure effect that he's had on my life in terms of what I enjoy, on the whole fantasy thing, from everything. He casts a long shadow.
So he's your favorite writer.
I think he has to be. I don't think I can argue against that. As much as I love all the others I mentioned, kind of Tolkien still, he's just like, it's him and everybody else. It's the way it goes. But who is Mr. Henshaw, the author who's being written to in this article? Let's find out by reading through day one.
Dear Mr. Henshaw, warm-up question. Who is your favorite writer? Why?
In second grade, Lee Botts writes a letter to his favorite author, Boyd Henshaw. Lee likes Ways to Amuse a Dog, one of Mr. Henshaw's books. Lee writes to him again in 4th grade and twice more in 5th grade. In 6th grade, Lee writes to Mr. Henshaw for homework. He has to ask him 10 questions. These include:
Where do you get your ideas?
And
What's your next book's title?
Lee asks for advice because he wants to be a famous author too. Mr. Henshaw writes back with questions for Lee. They start corresponding with each other. In his letters, Lee tells Mr. Henshaw all about his life and family.
So the article starts by saying, in 2nd grade, Lee Botts writes a letter to his favorite author, Boyd Henshaw.
OK， 那今天的课文一开头，我们就看到了一个生字 grade。好，这个名词我们该怎么解释它？该怎么使用它呢？ Let's take a look. Grade 这个名词呢，代表年级，所以我们课文说的 in second grade， 那就是在2年级的时候。注意我们要用的是序数。第一 first， 第二 second， 第三 third， 以此类推。那2年级生，我们可以说他是一个 second grader， 所以你会发现在 grade 字尾加上 r 变成 grader， 那就是年级生的意思。那另外呢 grade 还可以当作成绩，像是我们可以说 she's upset because she didn't get good grades， 她很沮丧，因为她没有得到好的成绩。那单字例句给的是呢 This year I'm going into the 3rd grade at school， 今年我在学校就要升上3年级了。
So students would go to a new school when they're in, I think it's 7th grade, is that right? They go to the next school?
Right, they go to junior high school here.
Right, and in the UK, we don't tend to use grade. We call them year something. So they're year 1, they're year 2, they go up. At year 7, they go to the new school. And after year 11, if they want, they can leave.
好，那接下来呢，我们还看到授予动词 write 的用法。我们刚刚看到的是 Lee Botts writes a letter to his favorite author， 代表他写了一封信给他最爱的作者。我们也可以说 Lee Botts writes his favorite author a letter， 也就是说呢，我们可以讲 write a letter to somebody， 或者是 write somebody a letter。
Yeah, or you could write something else. Ivy wrote a postcard to her family when she was on vacation.
那我们这边提到的 Mr. Henschel， 他是一位 author 作家作者。
We talked about our favorite authors earlier. You can also be the author of things like a play or a movie script or something like that. So why does he choose this author? Why is this author Lee's favorite? The article says, Lee likes Ways to Amuse a Dog, one of Mr. Henschel's books.
这里看到不定代名词搭配复数名词的用法哦。群体当中之一，我们可以用 one of， 不过后面会是复数名词，要特别小心。像是我们可以说，Oh, he's one of my close friends， 他是我其中一个好朋友。
Yeah, it kind of suggests that there are others. It's not the only one. It's not the only book he's read or the one he likes. There are more. We could also say, last night we watched Aladdin, one of my favorite Disney movies.
那我们的主角 Lee 他喜欢的书是 Ways to Amuse a Dog， 也就是 Henschel 的作品之一。
Okay, so he writes in maybe just to say, hey, I really like your book. Thanks for writing. It's the sort of thing kids would do to authors they like. They send them fan mail. We see in the article, Lee writes to him again in 4th grade and twice more in 5th grade.
Lee 之后还有持续写信给这个作家哦，4年级的时候也写，5年级的时候又再写了2次。
Sending him a lot of mail to say, I love your books. Your new book was great. Now we see in 6th grade, Lee writes to Mr. Henschel for homework.
6年级的时候又写，但是因为作业而写信过去。
So this isn't just for fun to say, I love your books. He's got to do some work for school. We see he has to ask him 10 questions.
他需要问 Henschel 10个问题。What are they?
Well, we don't know all of them, but we do see these include where do you get your ideas, something authors are often asked, and what's your next book's title?
OK， 所以 these include 也就是这些问题 include 以下的这几个。那 include 这个动词呢，我们来看一下什么意思吧。Include 这个动词呢，代表包含、包括，所以我们可以说 Eastern Taiwan includes 花莲 and 台东，代表东部的台湾包括了花莲跟台东2个地方。那如果我们把字首的 in 改成 ex， 会看到 exclude， 那就是去除。不包含在内。那我们还可以将 include 变成介系词 including， 放在句中呢，可以做举例说明来用。像是我们可以说 She can speak 5 languages, including Russian， 代表包含俄文，她一共会说5种语言。那单字例句给的是 This meal includes a drink. Do you want coffee or tea? 这份餐点包含一杯饮料，你想要咖啡还是茶
？So we use includes to give a few examples, but also to show there is more that isn't just these. We could say the test includes a reading part and a listening part, but that suggests there might be other parts too.
好，所以呢，我们这边说到他问 Henschel 的问题包括第一个，你的写作点子哪里来的？还有下一本书的 title 是什么？title 这个名词，我们来看一下什么意思吧。Title 这个名词呢是书名或标题，所以the title of a book 那就是一本书的书名。The title of an article 那就是一篇文章的标题。那还有像是工作职称，你也可以用 title 来说。A job title 就是一个工作的称谓。单字例句给的是呢 The title of my favorite book is The Little Prince， 代表我最喜欢的书的书名是小王子。
Here's another example from another great book by another very famous and very good author. the first title for Jane Austen's most famous book was First Impressions. She later changed it to Pride and Prejudice. Okay, which is the one that a lot of people will know. So, Lee's been writing to him for homework, but that's not the only reason he's in contact with this Mr. Henshaw. We see in the article, Lee asks for advice because he wants to be a famous author too.
OK， Lee 这边呢跟人家要一些 advice， 要一些意见，因为他想要干嘛呢？ He wants to be a famous author. Famous 这个形容词什么意思呢？ Let's find out.Famous 这个形容词代表出名的、著名的。Be famous for 那可以加出出名的原因到底是什么？像是我们可以说This restaurant is famous for its fresh seafood. 那代表这一家餐厅呢，以他们新鲜的海鲜闻名。那另外除了用 famous 之外，我们还可以用像是 known 或是 well known 来代换哦。那单字例句给的是呢 The restaurant is famous for its pizza. Many people come here for it.这间餐厅以它的 pizza 闻名，好多人都为了吃 pizza 而来。
Another example, we could say Chris Hemsworth is a famous actor who appears in many Marvel movies. So we're saying that, of course, Mr. Henshaw is a famous author, and Lee wants to be a famous author too.
没错，我们看到了 too 这边的用法，代表的是也，此外，那还有像是 also as well 也可以是这样子的意思。我们先进到 Magic Box 听讲师讲解咯。
Magic Box.
Hello everyone, this is Molly. How's it going? 大家有没有听出来，今天茉莉公主的声音好像蛮愉悦的哦。哎呦，还不是因为刚刚遇到我的小粉丝，他说 I look amazing in the movie and in person as well. 好啦，真的是不要这样一直夸奖我好吗？虽然是事实没有错。And also, I'm prettier than the other princesses. 我想这是毋庸置疑的吧。那今天呢要讲的就是呢用各种表示也或是此外的用法哦。那说到也，大家第一个想到的一定是 to， 对吧？就像我跟阿拉丁自从呢交往后，每天都在跟彼此示爱哦。他会对我说 I love you， 那当然我也会回敬他说我也爱你啊 I love you too。那记得 to 的位置一定是在句尾哦，而它前面呢有没有逗点都是可以的哦。另外一种表达也是的说法，我们可以用 as well。像我一开始说的，让我非常开心的一句话 I look amazing in the movie and in person as well。粉丝夸奖我在电影里面超美，当然本人呢也是哦。as well 通常呢也会出现在句尾的位置哦。as well 稍微比 to 再正式一点点，不过口语上两者都是蛮常使用的。再来这种呢，比 to as well 再来正式一点点的用法，就是呢 also。那不一样的是哦 ，also 会放在句中或是呢句首哦。I am a strong and also an independent woman。没错，说到迪士尼的女势力 woman power 的代表，我可是其中一个哦。我是个坚强而且又独立的女人啊。Alright， 除了呢将 also 置于句中，我们也常常会把它放在句首哦。这时候更有此外或是强调的语气，就像我一开始说的 Also, I'm prettier than the other princesses。没有错，这一定要强调一下好吗？除了粉丝夸奖我的部分，此外呢，我可以很有自信的说，我比其他的公主都还要美吧。好啦，不管你同不同意哦，反正我在阿拉丁的心中永远是最美的。My Prince Ali。So
back to the article， 回到课文来，我们的 Lee 他也想当一位知名的作家，所以他在信中询问了 Henshaw 的 advice 意见。
Okay, now often when you write these letters, the author might be very busy. They either can't write back or they have somebody in the publishing company will reply just with something short. But here we see that Mr. Henshaw writes back with questions for Lee.
Oh, wow.
So not just saying, thanks for your letter, here's some answers to your 10 questions, but I want to ask you a few questions too.
So he does write back. 他有回信哦，然后呢，还问了 Lee 一些问题。
Right, and after this we see they start corresponding with each other.
Correspond 这个动词呢，在这边指的是通信，所以他们就开始和彼此通信了。
Yeah, basically in the old days, people would write letters to each other. You'd write one, you'd send it, you'd get one back maybe a week later. Of course, letter writing doesn't really happen as much these days unless it's kind of business stuff. Now we use technology. We correspond by email or by messaging each other, making video calls. But it just means that there's some back and forth communication, but you're not in the same room actually speaking. So you'd be sending messages, writing letters, writing emails, that kind of thing. So we see in the article, in his letters, Lee tells Mr. Henshaw all about his life and family.
那在信中呢 ，Lee 就告诉 Mr. Henshaw 一切关于他人生啦，还有家庭的事情。
Okay, so this day one of this article has kind of been setting things up. We haven't seen a lot of real story here. There's no action or no problem that somebody needs to solve. But just at the end there, we kind of got a hint about what's going on. Because Lee is writing about his family, he's writing about maybe his problems, his home life, his school life, some of the difficult things, and maybe Mr. Henshaw's giving him some advice, giving him his wisdom and telling him, well, maybe you could try doing this. And hopefully he's also giving him some ideas about how to be a famous author.
Right.
You know, write a lot every day, write the things that you know, read a lot. All of those are important tips.
Okay, so we'll wait till tomorrow to find out what tips and advice he gives to Lee,
to Lee. And we'll also find out what is going on in Lee's life that is kind of giving him some problems and the things he wants to write about. But that's all we've got for now. Let's go to today's review time activity.
Review time!
So two of our word power words today were title and famous. Okay, famous is well known, title is the name of something. So Elsie and I are now going to play charades. And we've done this in the past with some of the word power words, but the most common way that people play charades at parties is to act out the titles of famous books or famous movies, TV shows, that kind of thing. So we can act, but we can't speak. So if Elsie acts, I will guess. If I act, she will guess.
Okay, who wants to go first?
You go for it. You told me you had a good one.
Okay.
Okay, that looked a bit like the second one was a dinosaur. So is it Jurassic Park? No. Ah, okay, Jurassic Park, but somebody's beating their chest. What kind of animal does that? It's a gorilla. So, dinosaurs and gorillas. This sounds like King Kong versus Godzilla.
Ding ding.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, my one, okay.
Okay.
But when you do play charades, you can give people clues. You can kind of say like that you three words.
Oh, okay, you can give clues.
Yeah, 3 words.
Three
usually
words.
hold up the fingers for the words. This would mean it's a film, like a camera, that's a book, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go then.
4 words.
Okay.
It's a movie and a book. I'm a ghost.
Not quite.
So it's a scary story, right? It's
Parts of it.
parts of it. And you point to me first.
Yes.
Like that?
No, that was me.
That was you. Zombies and is it Twilight?
4 words.
Oh, 4 words, yes. I have no idea.
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, you're so nice.
There we go.
Beauty and the Beast. What is that?
That was the Beast.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's all we have time for today, but join us again tomorrow for part 2 of our story article, Dear Mr. Henshaw. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Bye.
Dear Mr. Henshaw, warm-up question. Who is your favorite writer? Why?
In 2nd grade, Lee Botts writes a letter to his favorite author, Boyd Henshaw. Lee likes Ways to Amuse a Dog, one of Mr. Henshaw's books. Lee writes to him again in 4th grade and twice more in 5th grade. In 6th grade, Lee writes to Mr. Henshaw for homework. He has to ask him 10 questions. These include:
Where do you get your ideas?
And
What's your next book's title?
Lee asks for advice because he wants to be a famous author too. Mr. Henshaw writes back with questions for Lee. They start corresponding with each other. In his letters, Lee tells Mr. Henshaw all about his life and family.
Word power. Grade. Grade. This year, I'm going into the 3rd grade at school. This year, I'm going into the 3rd grade at school. Include. Include. This meal includes a drink. Do you want coffee or tea? This meal includes a drink. Do you want coffee or tea? Title. Title. The title of my favorite book is The Little Prince. The title of my favorite book is The Little Prince. Famous. Famous. The restaurant is famous for its pizza. Many people come here for it. The restaurant is famous for its pizza. Many people come here for it.
认识字汇 Author, author. Correspond, correspond.